Okay, so today we're going to unpack um, Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Ah,
You probably heard the name, maybe even seen the movie, but
yeah, definitely a popular one.
we're going deeper than that, though. Was he a visionary genius or just like a really, really good con artist?
That's the question, isn't it? Like when you see him, you see the drive, the ambition, the charisma, but how much of that was real?
Right,
And how much was all an act?
exactly.
Yeah.
And to really figure this out, we've got a ton of stuff. Articles, biographical info, we've even got some legal records. We're
Wow.
going deep on this one.
That's what you got to do with someone like Belfort to understand the wolf. You got to go back to the beginning. Before the millions, before the yacht, before it all came crashing down.
Yeah, before the downfall.
Yeah.
And one thing that really stands out is just how much of an entrepreneur he was, even early on. Like when he was a teenager, he was selling Italian ice at the beach,
Wow.
making like 20 grand every summer. I mean, that's hustling, even for an adult.
Yeah. That's impressive. You can definitely see that drive for success even then, like wanting to be his own boss, but also makes you wonder,
Yeah.
was it always about building something legit, or
Yeah.
was there a part of him that always wanted to take shortcuts?
Yeah, was he always looking for that edge?
Yeah.
And then things get even more interesting. So he goes to college, gets a biology degree, even enrolls in dental school. But then on the very first day, he drops out.
What?
Day one.
I read about that, yeah. Apparently the dean of the dental school said something like, the golden age of dentistry is over, and there's
Oh.
not much money to be made.
Oh, so he just took that as his cue to leave.
Pretty much, yeah.
So was he a visionary? Like, did he see the limits of that traditional career path, or was it
Yeah.
just impatience, like wanting those quick riches, which obviously ended up kind of defining his career?
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure. I mean, some people see it as a bold move, others see it as him not being able to commit,
Yeah,
but it definitely set the stage for everything that came next.
for sure.
Mhm.
And then, of course, he starts that meat and seafood business,
Right.
which ends up going bankrupt by the time he's 25.
Oh, wow.
Major setback. But did it humble him? Teach him some lessons?
Yeah.
Or did it just make him even more resentful, even more determined to never be broke again?
Yeah, like no matter the cost.
No matter the cost, exactly. So now we're in the late 80s, and Belfort and some partners, they found Stratton Oakmont. This is where the Wolf of Wall Street story really begins.
Ah, yes, the rise of the boiler room.
Yeah.
High-pressure young brokers all chasing the dream of getting rich. And their tactics,
Oh, yeah.
definitely pushing the limits of what was legal, let alone ethical.
They were notorious. And he even had this thing called the Kodak pitch. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I read about that.
So basically, the brokers would start by pitching these solid stocks like Eastman, Kodak, build that trust. And then they'd move on to these super risky penny stocks.
Oh, so clever, but also so manipulative.
Right.
Preying on people's desire to get rich quick. Using their trust to sell them investments that were basically worthless.
Totally.
Yeah.
And for a while, it was working. Like in 1991, Forbes magazine, they actually wrote an article about Belfort, talking about all the money his brokers were making, like 85 grand a year.
Wow.
I mean, that was a fortune back then.
Yeah, huge.
But here's the thing. Even in that article, they kind of hinted at Stratton Oakmont's shady practices.
Really?
Yeah, like they mentioned concerns about pump and dump schemes.
Oh, wow. So the red flags were there?
It was like
Yeah.
right there in the middle of this glowing profile.
Huh.
So why were they ignored? Was it the promise of easy money? Was it just the whole Wall Street culture back then? Or was Belfort just that good at selling people on this dream, even if it was all built on a lie?
It's a good question. I mean, a lot of people who got caught up in his schemes probably still ask themselves that. Like, how could we have been so blind?
Right.
But Belfort, he knew how to play people. He knew how to tap into their greed, their desire for a piece of the action.
And then there's the lifestyle, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Multiple mansions, designer clothes,
Yeah.
Lamborghinis, Ferraris. He even had a 167-foot yacht.
Oh my gosh, it's like out of a movie.
Totally.
Talk about extravagance. I mean, it was all about the image, right? Like projecting this aura of success,
Yeah.
even if it was all based on fraud.
But it wasn't all champagne and caviar, though,
Well,
right? There was that darker side to it, too.
Yeah.
The drug addiction, the recklessness,
Yeah.
a helicopter crash. His yacht even sank.
Wow, it's like a total spiral out of control.
Right. So is that the pressure of keeping up this facade, maybe the guilt of what he was doing, or was that destructive behavior always there,
Mm.
just amplified by all the wealth and power?
Yeah, it's like that old saying, money doesn't change you, it just makes you more of who you already are.
Exactly. So we have this super complex character, right?
Yeah.
The entrepreneur, the showman, the addict, the manipulator. But to really figure out if he was a grifter or gifted, I think we got to go deeper into how his schemes actually worked.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Because the pump and dump wasn't just about making money, it was about control. It was about manipulating the whole system for his own gain.
Definitely.
So how did it work? Explain it like I'm 5.
Okay, so imagine a balloon, right?
Okay.
You pump it up with air, everyone gets excited, and then you just let it go before they realize it's empty. So Belfort would get a bunch of these penny stocks and then use his army of brokers to hype them up to unsuspecting investors.
So they weren't just giving recommendations.
Oh no, it was way more than that.
It was high-pressure sales tactics.
Yeah, basically.
Scripted pitches designed to overwhelm people into buying.
Totally preying on their insecurities, their hopes for a quick buck.
Yeah.
Creating this fake frenzy around these worthless stocks.
And then once the price was high enough.
Boom, Belfort and his buddies would sell, leaving everyone else holding the bag.
And it wasn't just pump and dump either. We're talking securities fraud, false information, manipulating stock prices through coordinated trading, even using nominees to hide his ownership of stocks.
Oh, wow.
Layers upon layers of deception.
And then to hide all the profits he was making,
Yeah.
he funneled millions of dollars through Swiss banks and offshore accounts. It's like this whole web of transactions designed to cover his tracks.
Like a financial spider web.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder how many other people are out there doing the same thing.
Yeah, and we just haven't caught them yet.
Yeah, scary thought.
It is. So how did this whole house of cards finally come crashing down?
Well, it turns out Stratton Oakmont, they were already being investigated by the SEC back in 1992 for their shady sales tactics.
So even before the authorities figured out the money laundering, they were already on his trail.
Exactly. But it wasn't until 1998 that they finally arrested Belfort.
And even then,
Yeah.
he managed to use his smooth-talking skills to cut a deal.
No way.
Yeah, he ended up cooperating with the authorities. Even became a government mole to help take down other fraudsters.
Talk about a plot twist.
Right. So, was it genuine remorse?
Yeah, or just another way to save his own skin.
I mean, he did serve time though, right?
He did.
22 months in prison, a huge fine. And he had to pay back over $110 million to his victims.
Wow.
But then he reinvented himself, became a motivational speaker, making good money, telling his story.
So is he using his past to help others, or is he just exploiting his notoriety for personal gain?
It's a good question, and it's one we're going to keep exploring in the final part of our deep dive. I mean, it's crazy, right? This guy builds an empire on lies, goes to prison, and then comes out and makes even more money as a motivational speaker.
And it makes you think about those early Forbes articles where they talked about his brokers making like 85 grand a year, which was huge back then. But Belfort himself was making millions. So was it really about the money for him? Or was it more about power, the control, the thrill of the con?
I think you're right. The sources definitely make it seem like he loved the game just as much as he loved the money. The way he came up with these complex schemes, all the layers of deception, it's almost like he was challenging himself, seeing how far he could push it.
Yeah. And remember those rat holes where he had people secretly holding stock so he could manipulate the prices?
Yeah.
That wasn't just about making a quick buck. That was about control, outsmarting the whole system.
And then there's the money laundering, too. Millions of dollars flowing through Swiss banks and offshore accounts. It's like something straight out of a spy movie.
Totally. And
Right.
it makes you wonder if he hadn't gotten caught, would he have ever stopped?
Well, they were already investigating him in 92,
True.
so maybe it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, but he still had that move where he flipped and became an informant.
Yeah, and help the government catch other fraudsters.
So is that real remorse or just another calculated move to save himself?
It's really hard to say. Almost like he couldn't help but play the game, even when the stakes are totally different.
Yeah, like that hustle we were talking about before. It never really went away. He just channeled it in a new direction.
Writing a book, making a movie, motivational speaking. It's all about reinvention, staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Was Jordan Belfort just a product of a system that rewards greed and risk-taking? Or was he just a bad apple?
Or maybe, like you said before, a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
the sources we looked at don't really give us a clear answer.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the point. Jordan Belfort makes us think about the gray areas. You know, the line between ambition and ruthlessness, success and exploitation.
Yeah.
He's like a mirror showing us some uncomfortable truths about ourselves. Our obsession with wealth and how far we're willing to go to min it.
Yeah, for sure. He's a cautionary tale. But also a really fascinating look into human psychology, the allure of power, and how easy it is to compromise your morals. We've laid it all out for you, the different perspectives, then now it's up to you to decide where you stand on Jordan Belfort.
Is he a grifter or gifted? Visionary or villain?
Right.
Or maybe just a really complex mix of everything? One thing's for sure, though, this deep dive has just scratched the surface. There's a ton of information out there, different interpretations, debates still going on, and we encourage you to keep digging and form your own conclusions.
Let us know what you think. Hit us up on social media, leave a comment on the website. We're always up for a good discussion. And until next time, keep diving deep.